For more than a decade, fans of Sister Wives have watched Kody Brown's complicated family dynamic unravel piece by piece, but no one was prepared for what came next. After years of turmoil, heartbreak, and fractured relationships, Kody finally broke his silence with a confession so startling that it left even longtime viewers reeling. His words didn't just stir controversy, they shook the very foundation of the Brown family, igniting fresh debates about loyalty, love, and the truth that has been hiding in plain sight all along. The Brown family saga has never been short of drama, but even the most dedicated fans of Sister Wives were unprepared for the latest revelation that has sent shockwaves across the reality television landscape. Kody Brown, the man who once championed the idea of a plural family built on faith, trust, and shared love, has now delivered his most explosive confession yet. For years, viewers have dissected every argument, every tearful goodbye, and every broken relationship within the family. But this revelation seemed to cut deeper than anything that came before. It was not simply another round of emotional turbulence, nor was it one of the countless squabbles about loyalty or commitment. Instead, Kody finally unveiled the truth about the cracks in his foundation, a confession that has left the family reeling and fans questioning what it all means for the future of Sister Wives. At the heart of this bombshell is the undeniable collapse of the once unified vision that Kody worked so hard to present to the world. When the series began more than a decade ago, he appeared to be a man who embodied confidence in his unconventional lifestyle. With 4 wives and a growing brood of children, Kody was determined to show America that plural marriage was not only possible, but could also thrive in modern society. The narrative was meant to inspire curiosity, perhaps even acceptance, and for a time, it did just that. Yet, as the years passed, the carefully crafted facade began to unravel. Marriages fractured, children grew distant, and one by one, the women who once pledged themselves to Kody began to walk away. What remained was a portrait of a man clinging to power and control in the midst of chaos, desperately trying to rewrite the story as the walls crumbled around him. The confession that has captured so much attention did not come in a quiet moment off camera. Instead, it unfolded with the intensity and rawness that has come to define Sister Wives. Fans who tuned in expecting more of the usual family disputes instead found themselves confronted with Kody admitting something that many had long suspected but never thought they would hear from his own mouth. He acknowledged that the family had never been truly equal, that the idea of balance among his wives was more of a performance than a reality. With this statement, the man who had once defended his choices to critics outside the family was suddenly confessing that the critics may have been right all along. For Christine Brown, who was the first to officially separate from Kody, the confession seemed to serve as both vindication and validation. She had long spoken of feeling unloved and unwanted, often describing her marriage to Kody as emotionally draining and devoid of the connection she once hoped for. When she walked away, many fans praised her courage, yet Kody countered her claims with his own version of events, suggesting that Christine's departure was less about his actions and more about her inability to embrace the family's lifestyle. Now, with his words echoing across television screens, Christine's narrative no longer stands alone. Kody's own admission has aligned with what she had been saying for years, that his relationships were not built equally, that his affections had shifted, and that favoritism had played a central role in the disintegration of their plural marriage. Janelle Brown, who also separated from Kody after years of frustration, reacted in a way that mirrored the feelings of many fans. Her decision to leave was never rooted in drama for the cameras, but in the reality of living in a family where her needs were consistently pushed aside. She often described her marriage to Kody as one that operated more like a business partnership than a romantic union. Then Kody's revelation became yet another piece of evidence, proving that the emotional neglect she endured was not just her perception, but the reality of their situation. His confession, raw and unfiltered, confirmed what Janelle had quietly endured, further cementing the reasons why she finally walked away from a marriage that no longer served her. Mary Brown, the first wife and the one whose marriage had been plagued with years of emotional distance, stood as perhaps the most complicated figure in this unfolding drama. Her relationship with Kody had deteriorated to the point where they were more estranged than united, their union long described as merely a legal technicality before their eventual divorce. For Mary, hearing Kody's confession was a reminder of the years she spent trying to hold on to something that was slipping away no matter how hard she fought. While fans often expressed frustration with Mary's unwillingness to let go, Kody's latest words served as proof that her efforts were always destined to fail. The equality she sought never existed, and the marriage she tried to preserve was nothing more than a shadow of the dream they once shared. And then there is Robyn Brown, the wife who has often been painted as the center of controversy within the family. From the moment she entered the picture, fans noted how Kody seemed to give her more attention, more affection, and ultimately more control than the other wives. This perception grew into a source of resentment, not only among the wives, but also among viewers who accused Kody of abandoning the very principles of fairness he once preached. Now, with his confession laid bare, the suspicions about favoritism no longer rest solely on speculation. His words confirmed that the scales had never been balanced, and that his love for Robyn eclipsed the relationships he had with the others. For Robyn, this revelation may feel like a double-edged sword. While it solidifies her place as the favored wife, it also cements her role as the catalyst for much of the family's collapse in the eyes of the public. The fallout from this confession has been enormous, not just within the family, but among the loyal fan base that has followed their story for over a decade. Social media erupted in conversations about what Kody's words truly mean. Some fans see it as long overdue honesty, a moment of transparency that strips away the illusions of plural marriage and reveals the painful reality behind it. Others see it as yet another attempt by Kody to control the narrative, confessing only once he realized that the truth could no longer be denied. Regardless of the perspective, what cannot be ignored is the way this confession has shifted the conversation. For years, fans debated whether Christine, Janelle, or Mary were exaggerating their struggles. Now, with Kody himself admitting to the imbalance, the debate has ended and the truth stands exposed. The future of Sister Wives now hangs in the balance. What does this mean for the show that has captivated audiences for over a decade? Can it survive without the central premise of unity and harmony among the wives? Or has Kody's confession become the final nail in the coffin of a series built on the promise of showing the strength of plural marriage? These questions remain unanswered, but what is clear is that the dynamics have shifted permanently. The story is no longer about a man navigating the challenges of balancing multiple relationships. It has transformed into the story of a fractured family, of women reclaiming their independence, and of children watching their family unit dissolve before their eyes. The confession also forces fans to look at Kody himself in a new light. For years, he positioned himself as the head of the household, the patriarch who held everything together. Now, his vulnerability and his admission of failure reveal a man grappling with the consequences of his own choices. The image of a confident leader has been replaced that of a flawed individual who finally admitted that he could not live up to the ideals he once set for himself and his family. It is a humbling moment, one that leaves viewers wondering not just about the future of the Brown family, but about the man at the center of it all.
For years, viewers of Sister Wives have watched the slow unraveling of Kody Brown's once-celebrated plural marriage, a reality experiment that started with optimism and promises of unity, but devolved into one of the most complicated family sagas ever to air on television. The Brown family's journey, chronicled over more than a decade, has been filled with love, betrayal, resentment, and attempts at reconciliation. But nothing could prepare fans for Kody Brown's latest confession, a revelation so shocking that it has sent shockwaves through not only his own household, but the broader community of viewers who have followed his every move. With this disclosure, Kody has turned the story of Sister Wives on its head, making audiences question everything they thought they understood about him, his motives, and the fragile bonds that tied his family together. Kody has always presented himself as a man of conviction, a father determined to maintain a large, functioning plural family despite the scrutiny of outsiders and the undeniable strains of jealousy and competition among his wives. His ability to project authority, even when deeply flawed, was central to the family's public image. However, behind the carefully crafted narratives, fans often sensed undercurrents of dissatisfaction. Over time, those undercurrents swelled into raging rivers of discontent, driving wedges between him and Christine, Mary, and eventually Janelle. Only Robin remains steadfast at his side, though even her presence has fueled resentment rather than unity. It was in this fractured state that Kody's confession arrived, not as a calculated move to regain control, but as an emotional admission that has laid bare truths long speculated upon, yet never fully confirmed. The confession itself was not a single, rehearsed line, but rather a cascade of admissions that seemed to spill from him uncontrollably. At first, Kody admitted that his vision of plural marriage was never truly about creating equality among wives or harmony within a sprawling household. Instead, it was about fulfilling an idea of himself, a sense of importance and legacy that came with managing multiple relationships and many children. For fans who had clung to the notion that Kody genuinely sought to balance fairness and love, this admission was earth-shattering. It suggested that for years, the wives may have been striving for equality within a system designed never to provide it. But what made this moment all the more dramatic was the vulnerability behind his words. Kody went further, acknowledging that his favoritism toward Robin had not only fractured the family, but had also been intentional. For the first time, he admitted that he saw Robin as his true partner, the one wife he always wanted by his side, regardless of how it affected the others. While audiences, and even his wives, had long suspected this, hearing Kody say it himself transformed suspicion into undeniable truth. It was as if the curtain had been pulled back on the entire Brown family saga, revealing motivations that viewers had only whispered about in online forums or hinted at during heated reunion episodes. The confession also touched on his strained relationships with his children. Kody acknowledged that his pursuit of dominance and control often came at the cost of genuine fatherhood. He admitted to being distant, especially from the older children of his first 3 wives, and recognized that his obsession with managing household politics overshadowed the needs of his kids. This admission was not just painful for the family to hear, but heartbreaking for fans who had witnessed children like Aspen, Peyton, and Mykelti express their struggles with their father's choices. By conceding that he prioritized his own ego and image over his children's well-being, Kody left no doubt that the fallout of his decisions extended far beyond his marriages. In the aftermath of the confession, the reactions of his wives varied widely, and their emotions painted a vivid picture of just how deep the wounds have become. Christine, who had already walked away from the marriage and built a new life for herself, seemed vindicated. For years, she had spoken about Kody's neglect and favoritism, often facing backlash from both him and viewers who thought she was exaggerating. Now, with Kody's own words confirming her experience, Christine's story has gained newfound legitimacy. Her relief was palpable, though it was underscored by sadness for the years she lost to a marriage that never truly valued her. Mary, ever the complex figure in the Brown family, responded differently. Her long history with Kody has been riddled with heartbreak, from their emotional distance to her infamous online catfishing scandal that further eroded trust. For Mary, the confession seemed like a final nail in the coffin of a relationship she had already mourned. Instead of anger, she exuded a quiet resignation, as if she had always known the truth but had held on to hope that things might change. The acknowledgement from Kody provided closure, but it also underscored the futility of her efforts to remain part of a marriage that had long since abandoned her. Janelle, practical and measured as always, reacted with a mix of disappointment and clarity. She had often defended Kody's actions, even while expressing her own dissatisfaction, perhaps in an effort to keep the family together for the sake of their children. Hearing Kody openly admit to his favoritism and self-centered motivations forced Janelle to reassess her years of compromise. While she didn't express overt rage, her disappointment was clear. She emphasized the need to focus on the children and their well-being moving forward, making it evident that she no longer viewed Kody as the center of her life. Robin's reaction, however, was the most complicated. For years, she has been painted as the favorite wife, the one who benefited most from Kody's attention and devotion. The confession confirmed this perception, but also placed Robin in an uncomfortable spotlight. While she has often denied manipulating her position within the family, Kody's admission suggested that her bond with him was always different and prioritized above the others. This revelation could either validate critics who saw her as the wedge in the family, or cast her as a woman caught in the middle of dynamics she never fully controlled. Either way, Robin's tears in response to the confession reflected the immense pressure she now faces as the sole partner left standing by Kody's side. The confession has also reignited debates among fans and cultural commentators about the very nature of plural marriage. Was the Brown family ever truly an example of functional polygamy, or was it always destined to fail under the weight of favoritism, jealousy, and power struggles? Some argue that Kody's honesty finally dismantles the illusion that plural marriage can work in a modern context, while others see his admissions as evidence that the failure stemmed not from the structure itself, but from Kody's inability to treat his wives with equal respect and love. Beyond the philosophical debates, the impact on the children remains a pressing concern. Many of them are now adults, carving out their own lives and distancing themselves from the family drama. Still, the scars of growing up in such a divided household are undeniable. Kody's acknowledgement of his shortcomings as a father may be the first step towards reconciliation, but it also forces his children to grapple with the reality that their pain was not imagined or exaggerated, but very much real. The confession, while cathartic in some ways, reopens wounds that may take years to heal. In the larger landscape of reality television, Kody's bombshell represents a turning point not just for Sister Wives, but for the genre itself. Audiences have long craved authenticity, often skeptical that reality shows script or manipulate storylines. By laying bare his flaws so openly, Kody has delivered one of the most genuine and unfiltered moments in the history of the series. Whether motivated by guilt, desperation, or a desire to reclaim control of the narrative, his confession has cemented his place as one of the most controversial figures in reality TV. The ripple effects of this moment are likely to extend far beyond the show's immediate future. Questions now loom about whether Sister Wives can continue in its current form, or if it will pivot to focus on the lives of the ex-wives as they navigate independence. Christine's remarriage, Janelle's newfound independence, and Mary's ongoing journey of self-discovery offer rich storylines that could easily sustain the series even without Kody at the center. At the same time, Robin's position as the last remaining wife raises the possibility of exploring what monogamy with Kody looks like after years of promoting plural marriage. For viewers, the confession changes everything. It reframes past episodes, arguments, and tender moments, casting them in a new light. The tensions that once seemed like isolated conflicts now appear as symptoms of a larger truth Kody was unwilling to admit. Every scene in which he insisted on fairness or denied favoritism is now called into question, forcing fans to reconsider the entire history of the show. In this sense, Kody's revelation is not just about his personal failings, but about the rewriting of a narrative that millions of people have invested in for over a decade. Ultimately, Kody Brown's confession is both a breaking point and a potential new beginning. It dismantles illusions, validates long-held suspicions, and exposes the raw realities of a family that once sought to defy societal norms. At the same time, it opens the door to healing,